Hello everyone, it's Channin here for Honeybee Stamps. In today's video, we are going to create this really fun Father's Day card featuring some of the new apron dies from Honeybee, as well as the awesome barbecue themed sets. We're going to start out today's card by actually creating the card base itself. I'm going to use the new Apron A2 card dies, starting out with several from that set, and I'm going to die cut them out of this blue cardstock. This is a lightweight cardstock. I picked it mainly because of the color. I want to turn this apron into kind of a blue jean look. So I went ahead and die cut several of these pieces out of that blue cardstock, and now I'm going to make a second pocket for my apron. I'm going to start by just die cutting this scrap of paper with the die for the pocket, and now I'm going to die cut it again, but this time arrange the die so I cut off the other half and just make a smaller pocket by doing that. And now I can have two pockets, one at the upper part of the apron and one at the lower part, so I can fit more of the cool kind of add-on die cuts into this apron. So now I'm going to give this that faded jeans or that jeans look, and I have the faded jeans distress ink, and I'm just going to swipe it over the surface, so ink pad direct to paper, swiping it over the surface, and this creates a really cool kind of distressed, almost scratchy, but definitely mimics the look of jean. And I go both ways. I kind of go vertical and horizontal with my swipes, and I'm going to do this on all of my blue pieces here. So here's the large pocket, so just swipe over that one, and then I will move on to this little, this is like for the neck hole of your apron, and then my second pocket I made my smaller pocket. So once I finish kind of wiping or swiping my ink over, I went ahead and die cut some more pieces out of 110-pound white cardstock, so a heavyweight white cardstock, and this is going to be really kind of this structure of my card base. I'm going to start by feeding in through the really nice slots that are cut, the die cuts into the apron piece. I'm going to slide in that neck piece, and I'm going to push it all the way down. I want this to be kind of tight because I want it to fit on an A2 card front. So I just used a little bit of glue to hold it in place. Now I'm going to grab one of my white neck pieces and just adhere it directly behind, lining it up with the blue one. Then I'm going to move on to this fold piece here. This is kind of like your hinge, your piece that connects your front and your back of your card together. I adhere my blue one right on top of the white one. Then I'm going to just take my folding tool and just kind of really crease that fold to get it really nice and secure. A little bit of the white's going to kind of pop out, but that's okay. You're not going to see that. It's going to pop out of the sides a little bit. The blue won't completely cover it, but that's all right. When we construct the card, it'll be very seamless. So I just went ahead and adhered that hinge onto my blue apron on the back side. And now I'm going to grab one of my blank heavyweight cardstock aprons, add some adhesive to it, and then adhere it directly to the back side of my blue apron. Again, this heavyweight cardstock is going to add some support, some structure to that, because that blue cardstock was only like 65 weight. Now we're going to add a little bit of glue to the other side of our hinge and adhere kind of the back of our card. Now this card's going to be a little bit different because I could leave it alone and this be my card, but I really wanted to mount it onto a kind of like an A2 card base. I'm really mounting it just onto an A2 panel, which we will do next. Just I thought it was a different way to kind of use these dies and make a different kind of card. So I'm now just adhering my last little neck piece out of the white cardstock, just again lining it up so they all match up nicely, and that completes my first part of my card base. I'm now going to move on to quickly folding the kind of the tabs here on these pockets. The die creates little kind of score line on them, so they're really easy to fold up. So I'm just going to fold all those little hinges or kind of, I guess, tabs over, and then I'll add some liquid glue to them and of course adhere them to my card front, just lining them up first to make sure I have them where I want them, and then I will adhere those down. And here is that finished part of our card. So now we're going to move on to what I mentioned earlier. We're going to move on to adhering it onto an A2 panel. I'm going to use a piece of pattern paper. I really like the look of this apron up against one of these pieces from the Funfetti birthday paper pad. It's this really cute kind of grid or plaid almost. I went ahead and trimmed this sheet down to an A2 panel, and I'm now going to adhere this to also another piece of heavyweight cardstock. Just going to add some adhesive to this panel of white cardstock, stick my patterned paper down, and now we're ready to adhere the apron to this. So I'm going to add some liquid glue to the back side of my apron and then just stick it right down to the panel. So this is definitely a bit different, not quite a shape card, not quite your typical A2 card, but I thought it was kind of a fun way to do this, use these apron dies to make a card a little bit different kind of apron card. So I went ahead and just adhere it down and let it set with one of my die cutting plates on top, and that's ready for us to fill with all of these awesome add-on pieces. This is the Apron BBQ Add-on Die set, and I'm going to pull off several of these barbecue tools and first just die cut them out of some black cardstock. Now I'm going to mask off kind of the brush portion of this tool, then pick up all these tools by the handles and just stick them with a piece of tape. This is just micro pour tape. Any tape would work here, to a piece of white cardstock to kind of hold them in place, and then I'll press over the front of all of these die cuts with my Versamark ink pad because I'm going to heat emboss them. So now I'm pouring on my silver heat embossing powder, tap off the excess, and now we're ready to heat set. Just by using that tape and that piece of scrap white cardstock, it made it a lot easier to kind of hold these while I heat emboss them. And the handle portion doesn't matter because that's going to be completely kind of tucked into the pocket of my apron, so I don't have to worry about making that really perfect. Now we're going to cut out some other pieces, some sausages, a beer bottle, a ketchup bottle, of course mustard, and another hot dog. So those are all die cut out of some colored cardstock. I wanted to use this scrap here, also from the Funfetti birthday paper pad, and just die cut that with the mitt. And now I'm going to ink blend these color pieces, or these color cardstock pieces, with kind of like tone-on-tone ink. So starting with the mustard bottle, ink blending with mustard seed to add a little bit of shadow to the edges so this appears more round or has a little bit more shape than just a flat die cut piece of colored cardstock. Now moving on to our ketchup bottle, going to use Fired Brick Distress ink here, blending on both sides, again just to add a little bit of color. If you don't want to use your ink blending tools, this was a little bit tricky to do. Maybe you can use your Copic markers instead, or even colored pencils to add a little shading. It's just a great way to get these images to pop a little bit because everything else on the apron looks so realistic. It would feel a little off if I didn't kind of shade these a tiny bit. They would just feel so flat and not kind of work with the rest of the apron. So here are all my images ink blended. Now we're going to move on to quickly making a sentiment. This is the Kiss the Cook stamp set, a great set. I pulled off a Happy Father's Day sentiment. I just stamped it onto some black cardstock, dipped it into some white embossing powder, and of course I'm now going to heat set this with my heat tool. Next, I die cut it out with the matching dies off camera, and I did stack up two layers of black cardstock scraps and adhered them to the back side of my sentiment to give it a little bit of lift. You could use foam adhesive if you prefer. And now we're ready to kind of put it all together, like really fill the pockets of this apron. This is the fun part. First thing I'm doing is just adhering these hot dog or these sausages to some of these tools, just using a little bit of liquid glue to do that. Then I will add some liquid glue to the handle portion of these tools and then tuck them into the pockets to get them to stay. Moving on to the beer bottle here, just arranging and filling up the pockets. This is the really fun part. I really enjoyed doing this. I just love these little accessories. They're so fun. And I love seeing all the combinations of textures and patterns. It's just really fun to see it come together. So just popping in that last tool. Now I'm ready to adhere my sentiment. And believe it or not, our card is done. Now hold it to the camera so you can get a good look at all the details. Love swiping that apron with my ink pad. I think it gives a really great texture. I did stamp on the inside a second sentiment from the Kiss the Cook stamp set, and just to really kind of complete this whole look. But isn't this cool with all those accessories? Love that silver embossing on some of those tools. It adds a great shine. In addition, the little bit of ink blending that we did on some of the other die cuts definitely make them pop. And that little bit of paper piecing by using the pattern paper for the oven mitt is also a nice touch as well. I hope you guys enjoyed today's card and video. If you have any questions about the products I use, please check out the links below in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.